Welcome to Golden Hour Adventures. Today, we got a good episode for you, but we wanted to preface a little bit about the episode. It was essentially all things pilgrimage, but I'm sitting right here with Robbie, who is not at pilgrimage right now, running loops and getting loopy. Uh, Robbie, take it over.
Yeah, so here it is. Two sides of the same week. Some weeks hand you everything at once. The breakthroughs, the sacrifices, the wins, the letting go. This past week was one of those for me. Last week I was tested multiple times at work. First time in a long time. I felt some good stuff going on with my mental health and growing as a person and a leader in my work and just as a person. Then, some other stuff started happening. I was really excited to, go spend 6 days running in the desert. Been training pretty good for it, walking mostly because that's what I was planning to do. My daughter's going through some stuff, so, and, she needs my presence, my attention, and my support, and good conscience. I couldn't walk out the door for 6 days in the desert while she needed me at home. It was a hard decision. It was just the right one. The race will be there next year. All these races will be around next year or whenever we're ready for them. But the starting line isn't going anywhere for me. But at this moment with my daughter, the one where she needs, her dad close, and that moment doesn't come back around. That's a once in a lifetime thing going on right now. So, we talk about a lot in ventures and endurance communities about mental toughness, about pushing through and not quitting. And I believe all of that deeply. But I think the truest form of strength isn't always what pushes through. Sometimes it's what you're willing to set down without resentment, without ego, and without hesitation. So that's the adventure I'm on this week. And, I wanted to ask this question, put this out there. When we have to choose between chasing something that fuels us and showing up for someone who needs you, and looking back, how did that decision shape who you are today? I would love to know if, some of the people, listeners, have had to drop out of a race because of family issues and, what they learned from it and how they've grown from it and, how they went into the next race. This was on the docket for a long time. I don't remember when we talked about it, and I signed up for it right away. So, but yeah, there's always a next starting line.
There's always another starting line. I could not have said that any better, and I think that you are stronger for the decision that you made to drop out of the race to take care of your family, and I think that that's going to make you so much more appreciative of the next race that you run, because knowing that your family's good, and that's what's most important, is the people that stand behind you in these races. We thought that this episode was some good stuff that needed to be talked about, and so we decided to leave the episode in, but we just wanted to preface this a little bit, so please enjoy the episode. It's Golden Hour Adventure Time, featuring everyday people doing extraordinary things. From the peaks of victory to the valleys of defeat, these are their stories. Now, from the back of the pack, your hosts, Justin and Robbie. Welcome to Golden Hour Adventures. Today, you got just Robbie and I. We're doing Tales from the Trails with just us, I guess.
It's been a while.
Yeah, I think it has been a while. Yesterday, you just did something super fun and a little bit of heat. Robbie's got a goal of running an ultra every month of this year, and yesterday was your peak week, if I'm not mistaken, for pilgrimage. And
Yeah,
got
definitely peak
an ultra
week.
in.
Got an ultra in the heat.
Yeah. How did the ultra go?
Walk fest. Yeah, it started out good. I slept in, so I just left from my house. That was the goal, was to go run from the house and use my house as an aid station. because that's what's going to be happening at pilgrimage. So I was like, well, I'll just do that. That way I don't have to carry a bunch of stuff. And
Look at you getting some concrete miles.
I did. I got
I'm proud of you.
actually, I'll get to that part, but that was about like the only part I could actually, when I was feeling like shit, run was on the concrete.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it was flat. Yeah, so I left the house 9 o'clock with the dog, did 5 miles, came back, ate, drank, and then went out for a 10-mile loop, came back, ate a lot more, drank a lot more, then left the dog at home because it was getting hot. She was like looking for shade on that second little loop we were doing all the time. So I was like, oh, she can stay home. Then I got the wise idea, well, I'll just carry very little and I'll just hit the convenience stores. Thanks, Lance. Thanks for your
Yeah.
your convenience store talk. Anyways, there's enough close by. So I left the house. It was a mile 15 when I got back, left the house. Got to the first convenience store. I think I was about 18 or 19 miles in.
So you abandoned the trails at this point? You were just doing convenience stores?
Well, so from my house, it's road. It's a mile to the trail. Then up and over the ridge. Then I did some bushwhacking down. There's probably 2 miles of trail. Then I got on the road, then ran down Sheridan Lake Road, hit the convenience store, got an ice cream cone, which was delicious, and a cherry Coke, full octane cherry Coke, no diet.
Heck yeah.
Then from there, it was on the road till I got to the bike path, just cruised on the road, or on the concrete, excuse me. Actually, I was in the grass most of the time, so I guess we can't really say I was on the concrete runner, so... Then it was, God, I don't remember what time it was. We have this hill here. It's called M Hill. And bike trails. I must say it's mostly mountain bikers now. All I saw was mountain bikers. I didn't see any pedestrians. It was all mountain bikers. And I probably picked the wrong trail to go up. But Justin's familiar with this trail. There's like a trail that goes around the perimeter of this trail system. And I was going to do that perimeter. It's like, I think 6-ish miles. And that's about what I needed to finish my 50K. And I was on the west side and the sun was just blazing. The ground was hot. I was dying. And I kept playing cat and mouse with some mountain bikers and I was kind of getting frustrated because they would pass me, then they'd like get gassed out and get off their bikes and wait, and then I'd pass them, then they'd pass me again, and like with like 24 miles on my legs, I just I wasn't in the mood to be like keep hopping out of the way for these guys. I could barely move as it is. I was struggling bad. So I was like, oh, I know where this bench is. I'll just get up to this bench and sit. Well, that turned into a little siesta, I guess. I got up there and my heart rate was at 130 when I was laying down. And that's way high for my heart rate. And I could feel the effects of the sun kicking in. And I wouldn't say I was dehydrated, but I was definitely overheated. And I knew if I, just kept going, I was going to be vomited. And I was going to have to call my daughter to come pick me up some random place. And you know how all that goes. No, I would have made it home. I wasn't too far. So I got up, then kept going. Felt pretty good. Was actually able to start running downhill. Then I saw another convenience store. And I just went in there and got a 44-ounce Dr. Pepper, tons of ice, and a bomb pop. And I was like, well, I'm gonna walk around downtown Rapid City. I can't remember how many. I wish I would have looked. Anyways, I think I ended up walking about 4 miles-ish in downtown Rapid City to end up at 31.06 miles at my house.
Nice.
I keep thinking these are going to get easier, but they keep getting harder.
Yeah, yeah. Well, when you go from like 18 below and running through, calf deep at some point, snow, to what, 70, 80 degrees, probably something around there.
Yeah, I think it was, I don't know, I think it was like around 81 when
Jeez.
it peaked, which.
That's a big difference from March to April's 50Ks.
Yes, that's a huge difference. Like I don't even want to know that.
Yeah. Like I want to talk about kind of your strategy, your plan going into the pilgrimage. So we've talked about the pilgrimage and kind of what it is, and it's different. What is it? It's 5 different loops with a centralized focus point at the center, and you just go out on these 5 loops and come back. Total mileage to finish is 220 miles. You get what is it? It's something stupid like 150 hours or something like that to finish I think it's
Yeah, I
crazy.
don't know. It starts at Sunday at 6 p.m. and it ends the following Saturday at 9 p.m.
Yeah.
So whatever
Yeah,
hours that
I think
is,
it's 150 if I can remember correctly, which is a
something crazy.
yeah, it's a crazy amount of time to finish. I think it ends up being like a 30-mile day or something like that. So,
Yeah, if I do a 30-mile day, those that many days, you'll get to 220.
yeah. So I kind of want to dive deep into that. Like what is with this being a kind of a unique 200 miler. Um, first off, after both of our DNFs at Cowboy, like what drove you to want to go back to a 200 miler?
So this format, I've always interested with these different formats. Like I need to run a backyard because I think that format's really
I
cool.
really do too. I think you would do very well at it.
And with this, so Cowboy was a point to point. So you got to have all that logistical stuff. You got to think about that. And luckily we had Bethany there that helped with all that. But what really kind of sparked the pilgrimage is like it's a home base. You go on loops, you come back to home base, and I'll have a camp set up. With all my needs. I'll have a vehicle there. Also, you can leave whenever you want. You can leave the course after you finish a loop. You can leave. Tell them you're leaving, go into Grand Junction or into Fruta. If you want to take a shower or go get some real food or resupply. And that's kind of what really also got me thinking about it. It's like, so you get like this mini vacation to go see what you can put out by walking or running. But then also I can just leave when I need to, if I have to. And I don't. Some of these backyards, you can't leave. All of them, excuse me. You can't leave, right? You have to be on the line every hour. And I think another one of the ultraverse, that front range days, you can leave that one too. I just, I think for me, it's going to be a lot harder not wanting just to go back to camp and taking a nap or have my pity party, or even if it gets so bad, leave and drive into town. So I think it's more of a mental thing for me. With the race loop, point A to point B, especially a harder mountain course, you gotta go and keep moving. This one I don't have to keep moving, but the goal is to keep moving. So I think it's just more challenging for me to have that in the back of my head. Well, I could just go sit and take a nap if I want to, or do I want to bang out another whatever so many miles? So that's the battle I'm going to be having the whole time is, do I want to keep going or do I need to rest?
Yeah, okay. I know at one point we had talked about kind of the strategy about what you were going to do. And I remember you saying that the race started at 6 p.m. You were going to run for the first 24 hours and then sleep that night and kind of reset yourself to like a daytime running type thing. Is that still kind of what you're thinking?
I'm so mixed right now, especially after yesterday. I don't know it's going to be the high mountain desert in May in Colorado. I haven't looked to see what the temperatures could be at, but I imagine, probably at night it could be in the 30s to 40s, and a day it could be 80s to 90s, depending. I don't know what the average is. But after yesterday, I was kind of rethinking, like, maybe I should just take breaks during the day and walk all through the night. That way you know, I can try to stay warm instead of trying to stay cool, which for me, that's a lot harder. Trying to stay cool is, we all know, super hard, but staying warm is easy, right? You just keep moving. And I learned that when we were in Alaska. Like, there's times where we stopped to take a piss and you take your gloves off and your shit was frozen. Like, I'm not lying. Like, everything was frozen
Yeah.
within, 3 or 4 minutes of taking stuff off. And then you're warming back up, which was fine. Where the other part is trying to cool off. So I'm really rethinking that strategy. And I'm kind of, 6 o'clock, maybe just, power through till I start getting hot the next day, then go call it quits, then go back to camp and
So kind of just
sleep.
reverse what you were going to do. Maybe go more through the night morning time frame and then the heat of the day take
Yeah, take the rest where I'm not pushing my limits, right? Where I'm not asking my body to do all this while walking or running. I think it'd be easier to ask my body to, hey, try to stay warm and just keep moving and not be overheated. Where if I'm trying to stay cool, there's going to be a lot of mental aspects with that. And I'm thinking that if I get too hot and I'm out on that 12-mile loop, do I want to take a dirt nap or try to find some shade? Knowing the area, there isn't much shade. How far do I have to go off trail to get under a cedar tree? There's just all those thoughts playing in my head. Whereas at night, at least I know I could just keep moving.
Yeah. Do you have like a goal for like a day, like what you're trying to get a day? Is it the ultimate just to get 30 miles, or are you going to be pushing a little bit more, or is it going to be kind of see how you feel type thing?
That's another one I've been playing with before. It was push. Um, just kind of where I'm at with my training and life and all that. I think I just need to let it go as it comes and see how I can do. It's going to be hard enough. So why try to, do all this in the beginning to just make it that much harder in the end? I already know it's going to be hard. I think I'm just going to play it as it goes and just try to keep moving forward.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think ultimately all you got to do is like 30, 35 miles a day or something like that. And then that's, and I mean, if you're even walking at a 20-minute mile, that's about 10, 12 hours. I mean, that's very doable.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it's that we can sit right here in our chairs in our nice, comfortable houses and say, when you're 170 miles in and you still have, 50 miles to go, you only got to do 30 more miles,
Yeah,
and
30
then you
miles a
got to
day.
wake up and
Yeah.
do 20 more. And so, it's easy to say when you're sitting in a chair.
Yeah.
But I think the
Yeah.
concept of this one is very interesting that, it's like there's no pacers allowed. You can have crew, but you can only see your crew at the thing, at the main headquarters point. So it's like, really, like, what is the point of crew? And I know you're going uncrewed, so that makes things a little bit easier, I guess, for you because you don't really have to worry about people, sitting there for forever.
6 days.
6 days bored, even though I would love it. I'd just be seeing everybody and chatting and helping. It would be fun. I tried to
I
go out
think
there, but Robbie was like, "No, you're not going."
that's another good point too. Is I love crewing and volunteering and all that, and for this one, like I was talking to someone and was like, kind of like, why are you doing this? And I said, look, I get to disconnect for 6 days in a row. Like my phone, if it works, it works. If not, I'm not answering emails. I'm not worrying about work. My daughter will have a way to get a hold of me if she needs to get a hold of me, but she already knows like dad's going on a mental vacation. So that's how I'm taking this. And that's the other kind of exciting part is like, I've never been able to just like totally disconnect for this amount of time.
Yeah.
And worry about myself.
Yeah.
There's always, now with, the kid and the family now, it totally changes everything. And you can't actually disconnect when you want to disconnect. Yeah, we can go on a run, but do we fully get to disconnect? Sometimes. I mean, there's multiple times my daughter's calling me, what are you doing? I'm out running. Oh, I want to have a conversation. So I have a conversation with my daughter while I'm running, you know, whatever. I mean, that's just life. So,
Oh, I get it. You brought up a good point about the mental side of things, and it's just like, we put ourselves in these situations willingly. Obviously, we pay for it in that fact of things, but
yep.
like I don't feel that we test ourselves mentally very often. Yesterday was probably a good test for you where it was hot. You didn't want to be out there. You were, thinking about calling your daughter and quitting, but like you just stuck it through. You found a way like, oh, I'm gonna go get a Coke and an ice, and some ice and an ice cream. And then that boosted your spirits and you were able to finish the mileage, even though it was only, 30 compared to the 225 that you're about to be doing. But we don't put ourselves in those mental fatigue till resiliency tests very often. And I think if you are running a race where it goes through the night and into the next day, those are good tests because there's often a point where you're going to hit multiple lows throughout the night, maybe even during the day. And it's how you overcome those lows is, what makes you you. And I think in this race, you're going to be tested multiple times every single day. And so I think that's going to be a really cool test of your resiliency. And I think this is going to be probably one of the first tests that you've really experienced since you went through your journey of sobriety and, you're now with this men's group that you're with. And I think this is going to be a really good test to see how far you've come. And dude, I'm so excited to see you grab that buckle on the other end of it.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot too. Is I've done a lot of hard shit, done a lot of long races and training and all that other stuff. Have I prepared for this one? No. Did I prepare really for the one in Alaska? No. And you know what? People probably think I'm crazy, but I'm kind of enjoying it
Yeah.
because, well, Cowboy was just whatever, straight up. It was what it was. It was what it was. But I've trained more than I have for Cowboy. I'll put it that way. And I think this monthly ultra distance has helped a lot because the first one I did on January 1st was 12 hours, and I was, you know, doing that thing. Second one was, in the Black Hills, which was a struggle, but it wasn't a struggle as much yesterday. Then one in Alaska was a whole new experience. But every time I do these, I'm leaving with something new. And you would think with how much I've been doing this since 2000, I started running, you'd think I would have learned all this stuff by then. But I find the older I get, there's new stuff that I've never really thought about or realized. And, now being sober and wanting these different like life goals that aren't associated with running or just a way of life. But then I'm like, hey, in the back of my mind, let's throw running in there. Let's challenge yourself with running. And it's just like yesterday, there was a few times where I'm like, oh, I remember this feeling, Then there's other times it's like, why am I doing this? The answer is easy. I want to do this. I get to do this. Then it's like, and, I love when Andy Glaze posts his hater shit because, he just had the hardest time at Arizona 300 and he's crying. I'm just like, yeah, who cares?
Yeah.
Like,
you'll probably be there too.
Oh yeah. I definitely know I'll be there because, like you said, we could all sit here and be armchair quarterbacks, but everyone's journey is different, and we all do this for different reasons. And I got to remember my why a lot, and it's for me, not someone else. And I think with social media and where we're all at, a lot of times people are doing shit for someone else, not themselves. And I did that most of my life. I did it for someone else, not myself. And now, like, I'm doing it for myself, and it's like, holy shit, I'm learning all these new things about myself that I would do for someone else. So it's like a whole new learning experience. And I'm excited to go out there and be miserable and have to work through my own shit, maybe share some miles with some other people going through some shit. We're supposed to be, I don't know how many people are in there. There was capped at 45, and I haven't looked since I registered, but his goal was to have everyone on their own, which, cool, I'll be on my own for 6 days.
You're literally going on your own pilgrimage.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm nervous.
I always tell my athletes though, if you're nervous, that means you care. Because if you weren't nervous, then you really don't care. So I think nerves are a good thing.
I agree. Like yesterday, I woke up and I wasn't nervous about this 50K or my ultra. Went about normal morning, slept in, got ready, grabbed the dog, and we went. I knew I'd make it. I knew there wasn't going to be. You never know, though. Some days are perfect, but this wasn't one. And I was just like, well, let's go see what it is. But this one, can be in the middle of nowhere. Lots of unknowns that whatever I don't care about right now, I'll deal with them as they come. But yeah, the nerves are like, I've tried to sit down and like, what do I need to put together? And my mind just goes blank because I don't know what to put together. This isn't a 50 miler, 100K or 100 miler. Let's just bring your shit set up and go start running.
I'm excited for you, man. I really am. I'm excited. You're going to be the first one of us to get a 200. We were supposed to get that crap together.
Yeah, we tried last year.
We tried.
You got a little farther. You got a little farther than I did.
Yeah, I don't think 50 miles out of a 200 is anything to write home about. I made it a quarter of the way. Yeah. No, yeah, man. I've been thinking a lot about that, about the mental struggles, because I feel like I still am at a point because I burned myself out last year training for Kettle and then Cowboy. And I, we've talked about this a little bit on the podcast, but I think I went into Cowboy I was definitely burned out. And I think that I went in just like, let's see what happens. I mean, type thing. And I think we both kind of had that thought process behind us. Like, yeah, obviously the heat got to me. I would have pushed through otherwise, but I I didn't want to take that risk. It's like there's a point where things become unsafe and pushing on. Could I have pushed a little bit further? Maybe. But at what risk? End up in the hospital for 3 days from severe dehydration, or not that I was dehydrated, but yeah, whatever the case may be. Like,
Hmm.
what further damage am I going to cause by pushing on? So I think the decision that I made was a smart one, and I don't regret that decision. But you know, I still to this point kind of am dealing with some mental struggles of training. Like, nothing has excited me yet about running another ultra, even though I've ran 2 this year. I have one next month and then potentially one in July. I think that one will excite me a little bit, but I'm not in yet. So I'm kind of waiting. But I think that one, that's my pilgrimage. That one is. I've always had that one on my mind to run. It's something that scares me a little bit because it's an unknown of that much climb, you know, getting up over 10,000 foot, running on scree. Like, it's a true mountain race, and I've never really done a true mountain race. I mean, Bighorn is a mountain race, but I think that it still has a lot of forgiveness that, we're a San Juan type race, or, Crazy Mountain, the one we're talking about. So yeah, I think both of us kind of need to be at that point where we do something that scares us a little bit. And I think that even though mine's not called the pilgrimage, I think it's something that we both need to go on, is maybe do that hard reset. You know what I mean? And so, yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel that. I feel that too, because like I said, I started running in 2010, and I ran a lot in the beginning. As you've done the same thing. You get addicted, and maybe that's not a good word, but we're going to use that word because I feel that would.
I mean, it's the right word to use for sure. I mean, you can definitely get addicted to, the serotonin boost
Oh yeah,
that you're
yeah, oh
gonna
yep,
get.
yep, yeah, all of it. And I went through some crazy stuff, you know, divorce, ultra divorce, and that just fueled my running more. I'm like, well, if I'm getting divorced because of my running, well, I'll run more. Then COVID happened, and I was like, fuck running. I don't want to do this shit anymore. And,
You're supposed
I
to like
moved out
turn
here.
up during COVID though. That's when everybody turned
Yeah,
up.
I went the complete opposite. I mean, I did turn it up and I did a lot of cool stuff, but it didn't involve running.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then, I moved out here, then fell back in love again. Then I got sober, and I couldn't mix those two because of the cross addiction, which now, and I think now where I'm at too is like, getting sober was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. Then sometimes it's like, can I go train? Can I go do all this? Yeah, but I've already done something really hard, and I don't think about it anymore. But in the beginning, it was night and day, minute by minute, second by second sometimes. Then now it's not even a thought in my mind. Like when we hung out at the brewery, like, did I want to have a beer? No, I wanted to try that damn hop water.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
You know, so it's not even that. But then once I get into that thing, and like I'll talk about a little bit after this little point is like, I know my brain, if I just turn it on too much, I'm just going to go right in. And I've been trying to find this balance. Part of this men's group has just been balance. And because when you're around high performers, right? Even in the corporate world, even where you're at, like you're around high performers all the time. Like enough isn't ever enough. And I'm like, enough is enough. Like, where do I find happiness with what I have? And I've actually started finding that, but it also means I'm not running that much. So, but, you know, just like you, I used to be a huge power lifter, not a bodybuilder, but a power lifter since I was 16. Like for some reason, that's just, I started going back to the gym in January for my running. And like all of a sudden this spark, like all I want to do is lift heavy. So all I've been doing is going to the gym and lifting heavy, sometimes 7 days a week, mixing some running in there. But like yesterday, I could definitely feel my legs were dead because I went to the gym on, was it Thursday, and, was doing deadlifts for sets of 3 as much as I could lift. And it was great. I'm like this, but I could really tell you that I can feel the effects of the strength training, especially in my legs. Like when I started running, I was already doing all that stuff. And then I kind of stopped doing the weights. And but man, once you start lifting heavy again, and like yesterday, I had no issues with my legs. It was just heat. Like going uphill, you feel strong. Going downhill, you feel strong.
Like our
When you're on
girl
the
Amanda says, build bad bitch bones.
yeah, and yeah, exactly. And 4 months now, I was like, yesterday, I was like, holy shit, like it's paying off. There is a trade off, but I don't really give a shit. I'm gonna
Yeah.
just keep lifting heavy
Yeah.
because I like it. I'm enjoying it. And another thing too is to Amanda's point, like especially in women, when you and as men, once we start aging, muscle just atrophies. And I don't want to be, the 70-year-old guy that can't walk or lift anything heavy. I want to be that 70-year-old guy, be able to do pull ups still and go for walks and do all that stuff. So my mind's changing in longevity, but and also not beating myself up with training all the time for running.
Yeah, I think that makes a big difference. I like when I hear people are running more, but also incorporating the lifting as well. And so, I mean, lifting makes a huge difference. I gave it up for quite a while, and then, I've just recently, not recently, it's been about a year and a half, 2 years, picked it back up. I found since probably like after Cowboy, I started lifting like really heavy again, kind of dialing back into like my bodybuilding days. And man, I'm kind of just feeling a super love for it again. I know arms are just like, curls for the girls type thing, but like, dude, I love getting in there, just destroying my arms and like feeling my shoulders just being like rock hard. Like, I love that stuff, man. I don't know why. It kind of gives another high
Hmm.
to that boost. And I think it's just, yeah, I'm digging it, and it's definitely going to pay off. And so, when we go do some of these big races, it's definitely going to pay off for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm right there. Every time I'm doing triceps, I'm like, this is for the pull workout. This
Yeah.
is for using my pulls up on that uphill.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I tell somebody at the gym. They were like, why do you lift? Because you run. And I'm like, oh, it's just for the poles. Like, I do those lat pull downs. So when I have the poles, I can, just power through.
Yeah, yeah, when you really extend those pulls up, and you're
Yeah, yeah.
double legging it and double pulling it. Yep,
It
all
does make a
lats.
difference though. I mean,
Yeah.
going from somebody who maybe doesn't use poles that often and then they use poles, they can definitely feel it in their lats and arms. But,
Well, have
if you
you?
train that, you can definitely.
Yeah, I'm sure. There's been people that have just started using poles, and they're like forearms get forearm pumps, and they're complaining the next day that their forearms are hurting, and their triceps are hurting, and their shoulders are hurting, and their lats. Then think about the core stability too when you're doing that. I mean, if you're doing, like something steep and you need a lot of pull, like you're pulling yourself up, then, one thing people are really starting to talk about too is the braking with them downhill. Like finally people are talking about that because I think that's another thing too is not killing your quads like on steep downhills, using those pulls to brake. Let your upper body absorb some of that punishment.
Yeah. I have a treadmill that's, you brought that up. I have a treadmill it goes -6 decline. I mean, it goes 40 incline, but who does 40? I mean, I think the most I get on is like 15, but I found that like I enjoy doing the downhill because that also will train your quads. And it's like, I do a little bit of an uphill, like a half mile uphill, and then I'll just slam it down all the way to -6 and do a downhill. I can feel the fatigue in the quads, and I'm like, man, got to train those guys harder. But I think it's good training.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, man, yesterday I was gonna go do a trail run, and then I was like looking at the ice and snow and melt and crap, and I was like, all right, you know what? I'm just gonna stick to the roads. I'm gonna take Ellen with me, and we're gonna try to do 13 miles. I think we only got 12 and a half, but to my defense, there was about a 3 mile section that I had to push through like slosh, slush. My feet were soaking wet. It was disgusting. If you see on my Instagram, you saw the videos. Yeah, it was not fun. I was getting so mad. So I kinda had I didn't build out a route, but I kinda had a route built in my head of where I was gonna go. And, man, pushing a stroller's hard. That's great training. because I was supposed to get a little bit of vert yesterday. I was supposed to get, I think, like, I don't know, 2,000 foot of vert. And like, I didn't get that, but I'm like, but I also pushed a stroller, which the stroller probably weighs 30, 40 pounds as it is. Ellen weighs like 22, 23 pounds. So like, I'm pushing 50 pounds.
That's for
That's pretty good training. So I think I'm going to incorporate that into my training more. And I think it's great because, I'm just out running and maybe she falls asleep for a little bit, but I thought it was super cool. Like we ran by a dog park and she just like, well, I can just see her top of her head, but I can see her like moving around, like, and then she says dog, 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 so she's like dog, 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 dog. But I just thought that was the coolest thing. Like, how many times have you run by dog park or run by dogs and you're just like, oh, it's like, whatever, get out of my way. I'm going through. But then like now I'm finding myself when I'm pushing her, like, slow down a little bit, let her see the dog. Like, I just like, there's another joy to running now. And man, it's so awesome. Plus that
yeah. You
stroller
get
she has, it carries all my snacks. So I don't have to wear a pack or anything.
you have to wear a pack. You can just put your water bottle.
Yeah, yesterday. So it has like a pouch underneath it, right? So you can put your stuff and then it has like a little holder for stuff that you're going to grab immediately. So like I had a water bottle in there. I just used like a biking water bottle. And then I had another one down below. And so when I went to do the swap, obviously I stopped. It was like at a stoplight or something. But I accidentally dropped that water bottle. I think from like I had some stuff in there, some element, something else, and it like busted the bottle. I was like, God dang it. I was only like 7 miles in too, and I was like, well, I guess I'm not gonna have any water for the next 7 miles. Just go in there and steal Ellen's water.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. You know, I have a goal this year. Last year we ran a half marathon, her and I think I made a goal yesterday. I was like, you know what? Let's do a marathon. Let's see if we can do a marathon. I think it'd be a lot of fun to push a marathon, and then we'll see. I think there's one in August, and it's going to be a fairly flat one. Obviously all roads. I think that I'm going to try to push her for a full marathon this year, and we'll
Oh,
see.
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, we'll have to set a goal, see what our goal time will be like. I don't know, maybe like 5 hours. I think would be a pretty decent goal
Yeah.
because I think the half marathon was like 2:20 is what we ended up doing. The first 3 miles we pushed were like through mud and that was kind of a nightmare. I had another guy there with us that was running, and he had to help push through the mud. It was so thick and gross. But I think we did it like 2:20. So I'm like, I think 5 hours would be a really good goal for a marathon pushing a stroller.
No, that'd be awesome.
It'd be
It'd be
great.
so cool.
She's run a 10K, a half marathon. And then we've done multiple, training runs of long. Yesterday was 12 and a half. So we have done, you just got to, like, you have to build her up as well. You
Yeah.
can't like, you can't just take her and go, oh, I'm gonna go run a half marathon. Like you have to do some longer runs with her to get her used to it. But
Yeah.
she's got this
She gets
cool
bored.
this seat that she goes in. It has like it's kind of like racing straps, like racing straps. It's like you lock her in there, but it's like, but she can like free float, move around. It's kind of cool. Like if the stroller's moving a lot, she's just staying steady.
Oh, that's cool.
It's kind of cool how it's built in there. That's kind of neat. But yeah, I think we'll try to find a marathon. If the marathon happens, I'm not sure if it's going to happen yet or not. But if it does, I think we're gonna try to run it with a stroller. We'll see how many
By
breaks
then
we
you'd
have
be
to do.
yeah, by
How many
by
s-
then maybe she can be handing you snacks.
yeah, she can hand me snacks, and I'll have to do
Yeah,
the
yeah.
same, hand her snacks down below
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah.
So we'll
She'd be
see.
like, "Dad, it's time for a gel."
Yeah, that's too good. All right, man. Well, I guess we'll end this thing. Maybe we'll just end it. We don't have to do anything fancy. We'll see you on the trails. How about that? See ya.